What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out. Oh, I did that again. Well, I got to get my hands off too many things. Let's start again. 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We're broadcasting live on June 14th. We're halfway through June already. And finally in Toronto, as I look out the window here, well, the shades, but on the other side, we're having a beautiful day in Toronto, about 75 degrees, no humidity, a little bit of a breeze from the east. Nice day. So we're enjoying it, having a good time. Tomorrow's Father's Day. So I'm going to be hanging out with my dad tomorrow, taking him out for lunch. I actually just came from visiting him and a few other relatives who were just hanging out. I said, Dad, it's ladies' time. Bye. So I had to check out and say, it's LaLa. And Aisha case, I goes, who that? I said, I'll tell you later, Dad. I'll tell you later. Let's bring them up. It's Primetime Saturday with Aisha and LaLa. What is going on?
Hey, do we say Happy Father's Day to you?
Well, I received that. What's been going on in your worlds, ladies?
Oh, busy day. I'm on a nap.
Hey, yes, you have had a busy day.
Wow. But it's all about good vibes.
Look, I haven't been caught up yet at all on anything. I've been listening to the news, but before the show, I took a break and sat and watched Leverage Redemption.
Did you?
For like the million. I love the show, so I just like whatever comes on the Leverage channel, I just go and watch. And so, yeah, I sat and chilled out and watched that for a couple of hours today.
Good stuff.
And my best friend's on her way.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, her niece graduates on Monday, so she's going to be here for a whole week.
Very nice. What do I want to ask the ladies? Give me a win that you've had over the past week.
A win?
A win.
A win. Oh, I've gotten through the outline for my fiction novel, Wives with Knives.
Oh, what's that going to be about?
Yeah, Wives with Knives. It's a murder mystery. It's a murder mystery.
You know we love that. We love it. I can't wait.
I wrote the first two paragraphs. Rewrote the first two paragraphs. I wrote it to the point that I was like, ooh.
You know it's good there, right?
Yeah. I went back and read it after a couple weeks. I was like, ooh.
Okay.
Love it.
That's my job for tonight. I'm gonna.
Well, I just want to if I have your permission to interrupt, I want to say thank you. There's a number of people already logged in watching this live, so we want to hear from you. So please put the comments. LaLa, what's a win you've had this week?
I had a breakthrough on the guitar.
Oh,
I'm really diving into it. And, I've been picking it up and putting it down, because I get a little frustrated. But I think I've had a breakthrough about just having fun with it and stops. I'm such a perfectionist that when I do things wrong, it upsets me. Like I'm supposed to know how to do things right out the box. My husband has pointed that out to me, right? So he's like, just have fun with it. So it's like, okay, when I mess up, I just laugh and just keep going. I'm learning Africa. On the group Toto, I'm learning now.
You're kidding. Dun, 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 dun.
Yes, that's what I'm learning.
Great group.
I know.
Jeff Beccaro, there were some very talented musicians in that band.
Really fun song to play. So
nice. Africa. Yeah.
I have two pink guitars.
Oh.
They're in storage right now, but I have been practicing on them. One's a pink electric guitar, one's a pink acoustic. But I had to get, because of the size of my hands, I had to get children's one.
But they still play.
They do. And not only did I have to get children's ones because of the size of my hand, but also left-handed ones. So that was a challenge.
Well, that's same here. So here's the thing. If I haven't picked up a guitar in many, many years, but if I have to play, I have to left-handed guitar, but I throw with my right hand.
Really?
Yes.
I cut with my right hand.
I cut with my left hand.
I'm left-handed. I'm left-handed.
Here I am, right-handed with the regular guy. I've got an Acoustasonic, a Fender Acoustasonic. So it's
Excuse me, Fender. Okay, we can get up and leave now. A Fender guitar. Okay.
Well, you know, I live in a house with a professional musician.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gotta come with my A game. But you know, it's acoustic and it's also electric. So I really have fun with that. Sometimes I plug it in and just have fun with it, and sometimes it's just like hearing the acoustical part.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Her name is Camille.
That's cute. When I was young, when I was like 11 years old, because I loved Prince, I wanted to learn to play the guitar. So my father went and bought me a black electric guitar, left-handed, right? Because, you know, learning how to play upside down is very hard. I've tried. So I tripped over it and it fell. And I thought I broke the neck of it, right? But it wasn't broken when I picked it back up. And then my father came home and I got punished badly because it was broken.
Oh.
Find out in my mid-20s, my youngest sister broke it.
Oh.
And did not take the blame for it because she saw what I got.
Oh.
Wow.
Yes, we laughed.
Yeah.
We laughed at that. But I was so hurt when it was broken too because I was like, I know I'm never getting another one again.
Okay. So Aisha, if there's a song that you'd like to play on your guitar, what song would that be? What's a song you'd like to play on your guitar? And again, lots of people in the room, please put the comments going. But Aisha, what's a song you'd like to play on your guitar?
God, the last one I liked learning and playing was Yes Indeed by Tina Marie.
Okay.
Nice.
Right. So LaLa, other than Africa, what's a song you'd like to play on your guitar?
Call My Name by Prince.
100%. All right. Well, we'll cut it short because last week we went so deep.
But we should mention, since we're talking about guitars, the passing of Sly Stone.
Yes. And our wonderful friend Jill Jones did a really wonderful tribute to him on her Instagram.
Really did. Yes.
Really, really, really good tribute.
Really a pioneer, just so much about him. Suffered a lot with you know, in his life, but you know what? He still brought forth a lot of good stuff. Music just lives on, period.
Did I share it with you guys on Instagram, the live performance he did with Jesse Johnson?
Yes.
No, but I remember seeing it like on Soul Train and a couple of other things back in the day when they did the song Crazy together.
Yes, I love that. What's a great mirror. And I said, wow.
I actually was just listening to that song last week.
I said, there's a little bit of, I'm hearing some Prince in that. You know?
Yeah.
Well, you two are Princeites. Did they ever perform together?
Who?
Sly and Prince.
Sly and Prince?
Not that I can recall.
Okay.
Maybe not publicly. I know they met at one point, but I read about that, but I don't know. I think it might have been kind of difficult to balance him and Miles Davis at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then Sly was notoriously reclusive for a while.
Yes.
His memoir came out last year?
I'm listening to it now currently.
Yeah, I have it too.
I'm having struggles with the narrator though. It's really hard to listen to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to cut it there because we're going down that musical highway. So I'm going to stop right now while we're ahead because then we haven't done a music show in a long time, but we will get to one soon. All right. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back in about 30 seconds. And we're going to do some introductory stuff, some homework, housework, and then we're going to get right down to business. Talk, a show where Black and women come together to have real and filtered conversations about life, culture, and community.
When you speak with brothers who are not necessarily connected to community, they often think to themselves, what can I do?
You look and you compare yourself to everything on that screen, and you're feeling bad about yourself.
Look at it as, what opportunities can this particular challenge bring?
For it to be publicized, young people have to be at the forefront and not just tokenizing those conversations.
So Black men can you go talk on Sunday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
I don't know why my family feels like sending me videos to laugh at when we're in the middle of the show, but they always do.
All right, let's do some housework instead of the funny work. Girlfriends Chat with Aisha LaLa and Jill Jones at Patreon. Used to be, but now it's on Substack. Check it out there. Primetime Saturday store with all things Primetime Saturday. There's the link there. Join our Discord group. Email me at dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com or click on this link that you see, and I'll also be sharing on the platforms that I'm broadcasting this live or replay. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. And also follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And I should also TikTok, since I have someone managing my TikTok account for the next few months. Lala and Aisha know who that is. And then advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms I'm on. Email me at dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. Indie Suit TV, powered by Dr. Tachi, getting near 30,000 YouTube subscribers in 14 months of operation. You'll see content from here and other independent content creators on that platform. Then the comments, as I said, there were comments are coming in, so let's get this going. Number one fan, Jen Meyer, says hello. And she says, are you guys left-handed?
Even-handed.
Even-handed. Sorry, even-handed. I am even-handed. Yes. I haven't heard that term in a long time. Someone that Lala knows. Gloria.
Yes, Gloria. Hey, Gloria. Gloria is actually in LA, Long Beach area.
Okay, well, we're getting to that soon. Yeah. She goes, hi, my friend Lala. Okay, Lala says Aisha and Dr. Vibar, not me. All right. Lala says, thanks for coming in, Gloria. Enlightened Being says, I missed last week, but watch the replay. Great stuff. Thank you very much for watching the replay. Oh, Regina's in the house. Just returned from 3 separate No Kings events today in my community. Okay, we're going to get to that in a minute.
Regina for the win!
And yes, and Aisha says, I have right hand for my symmetry and cutting only. And Regina says, great energy out there on the street. Okay, so guess what we're talking about first? We're not talking, no, we're going to talk about
Minnesota.
The unfortunate incident that happened in Minnesota last night. Minnesota Democratic House leader killed in a politically motivated attack. She was killed and her husband was killed.
This was this morning, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
In our home, and what we know so far is that there was the one that was killed. She is the Speaker Emeritus, so she had been Speaker at one point. She's not, but she's still in office. And then there was also another state representative. Him and his wife were shot but not killed. The first one, she was shot and killed, as was her husband. Again, the information is sketchy because they're still searching for this person. The person.
No, I thought they found him.
They found him. They know what he looks like. They have not captured him.
Oh, Matt.
Initially he was dressed as a police officer and had a car that looked like something their local SWAT team uses, an SUV, and that is how he was able to get through. What they're saying now is for people in the area who are, they're no longer in the shelter in place part, but they were telling people, if police come to your house, we're sending them out 2 at a time. So if there's, if you're calling for law enforcement and someone shows up just as themselves, no, it's not us. Which, we're at this scary part in America, because we were already talking before about people pretending to be ICE.
Yeah.
Because ICE is wearing the masks and stuff, and their insignias aren't easily recognizable. So here we are with this, but apparently this person had a list. This person was involved in security, so they have that kind of knowledge, and that's why they're saying they're having some challenges in locating and arresting. But it is politically motivated. It's sad, but the one thing that I found more disheartening than anything was the people saying, oh, both sides need to tone down the rhetoric. No, there's only one side that, when they don't like what you say, resort to and call for violence, period. And I need the media to stop running with that narrative.
They're not going to. They're bought out. They're bought out. They're not going to run with any narrative anymore, other than what the Trump camp wants them to do.
Right. And so, I mean, those are the facts that we know. Again, this, I think that the elected officials, the mayors of both cities, one of them is a Black man, the governor and the rest of the elected officials have been very good in getting the public to, continue to protest. The 2 protests in those locations were canceled for today, understandably, but people there are protesting with a mind for peace. And I think, in my opinion, the first thing I thought when I saw this was like, oh my gosh, we probably know who this is. It's not ironic that it happens in June of 2025 and in Minnesota, while Trump's president, because what's the one thing that he wants to relitigate the summer of 2020 if he could. So, and
not only that, the suspect, who they did release his name, is Vance Bottler or something like that. He had a list of 70 names that he was going after. Mm-hmm. And they're still not safe, y'all. I mean, he's still out there. So
he's still out there, and they have advised the people who are on the list to get additional security if they can afford it. Because remember, state politicians, state level representatives don't make the salary that our federal representatives do. Many of them are part-time. I know there are some state legislatures where they only get $20,000 a year. They have other jobs. They have businesses. So, yeah.
And it's politically motivated. Like, what's going on in America? Are you killing government representatives?
Yes, as long as they don't represent what the MAGA wants, they have free reign, and that's what they feel like. They feel like we have free reign to do anything that we want to because we are under this regime. All right, that's how they think. So therefore, they think they're doing God's work.
Right. There's just one side that really, in modern times, resorts to killing people that they don't like their politics. And in LaLa, what you said is right. It's not what MAGA wants. MAGA knows they can do this stuff with impunity. Why? Because they know there is a president who is their friend, who will pardon them. Not only will he pardon them, but guess what? Right now, while he's in control of the government, his people won't even.
Were you going to say the gutterment?
Yeah, I was. It's like,
I like them.
That was going to be a Freudian slip, right?
I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
And that was a Freudian slip. But yeah, I mean, they know that they can do these kinds of things, and they won't be arrested for it.
It
is what it is. I mean,
sometimes certain things just hit you in the heart, and that just, I don't know. I've heard about it all day. We hear about all these things. I'm working so hard to protect my peace, but sometimes when those arrows get shot where we say things of truth, it does something to me.
Yeah. And we're going to be talking on the new podcast that I'm doing about protest And I'll be talking about it as a response to violence. Historically, protesting is a response to violence. And, and we're not just talking about, this kind of violence. We're talking about this kind of violence and legislative violence and other kinds of violence. And so these protests that we're seeing today really is a response to these kinds of things that are going on, as well as public policy that's violent toward people. But I have yet to hear a Republican say anything today. I heard the president's so-called statements that he outsourced. I'm telling you, he outsourced that. No one in his realm would ever write that. He outsourced that.
Of course. You always know when he does.
Because
you always know when he does, because it makes sense.
Because everyone in his realm is programmed to speak like him. So he definitely put this out to someone, maybe a lawyer or someone who, not necessarily any lawyer that works for him, but someone who, who's going to say, hey, you need to say it this way, this time. Somebody who's not MAGA.
Somebody getting paid.
Maybe his daughter.
Could be.
Oh my gosh. But first, most important, we want to express condolences to the families that they're involved with this tragic incident. And how many more of these do we have to hear about? No matter what level, whether political or non-political, how many more do we have to hear about? Just Enlightened Being says, and he had a list of many he was going after. Mm-hmm. Also, we have here, let me just get down to this. Regina says the masks need to go if local cops don't have masks and have ID clearly visible. So does ICE. We're gonna get to that in a moment. Don't worry. We're gonna get to that the ICE stuff. We got a whole pile of stuff of what's going on on the left coast in Cali. Ladies, anything else you want to say about this tragic incident?
Well, it's unfolding.
It's unfolding, definitely. But I definitely also don't want us to move on without acknowledging Ananda Lewis, who we also lost this week.
Yeah.
We will take that on the end.
Okay.
Let's take that on the end.
I didn't even know, but I knew she was sick. Yeah.
Okay. Let me just. Yeah, we'll take that at the end. All right, let's go. Oh boy, California.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, hold on. Let me get on the screen. No, actually, not even that. Let's talk about No King's Day first.
Mm-hmm.
Let's. I know, Regina, you said you just came in from stuff there. So anyone who's watching on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube channel, I like to do the interactive thing whenever we have a chance. So I have something that's open-ended for people to answer and saying, what are your thoughts about No King's Day? Ladies, go ahead.
Well, I mean, so far the protests look great. People are coming out, rain or shine. And again, peaceful. This is, put it this way, between our first story and this, Donald Trump is not getting any news coverage right now for his little thing, his little parade, his little $45 million parade.
Lala, what were your thoughts about this day?
I participated in it in many ways. And some of them I will not speak about publicly because I truly, like we said, there's some things that you need to do that are in silence. But I supported. I also got out information, especially to my clients in LA, about what to expect, what to look for. I have a lot of clients in LA, even Florida, y'all, had a really successful turnout, which shocked me. Okay, shocked me. Florida, okay. So, and then, just getting the information out and making sure that they understand their legal ramifications that come along, keeping them updated. Gloria, who is in here, is also one of my partner realtors in LA, another lady by the name of Soraya, who keeps me abreast of what's going on the streets. I do know Soraya participated in the marches today as well. But it is pretty brutal in LA, even though, meaning, you know, they're protesting peacefully, but unfortunately, the black hand side of the slickness of the garbage is causing all the problems, and that includes the Los Angeles Police Department.
Okay. So Enlightened Being says, doing great, Dr. Vibe. We had protests here in Denver as well. Great turnout. I participated earlier today. Enlightened Being says, we the people is what I think. I was in the streets. Go, wow. Regina says, thousands showed up in my area. Totally fabulous. It helps unify positive energy and push back against autocracy. And JJ Mars, what is going on? JJ Mars says, military parade was a massive waste of public funds. Money should have been spent on homeless vets.
Well, you know,
not only that. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. You know, here's the thing about it. We have to be honest about what it is. The media is not being honest. They're being disingenuous, saying that Trump is having a parade to honor the Army's 250th anniversary, and it just happens to be on his birthday. No, like the first Donald Trump term, he wanted a birthday celebration for the entire country to say happy birthday to him. He wanted a parade like Bastille Day. He wanted a parade like what Kim Jong-un gets. He wanted a parade like what they do in Russia. He wanted a parade that celebrated him. Because if this was just about the celebration of the Army already had celebrations and exhibits and tours and conversations planned across the country. There was no need to centralize it and have a parade. The Army actually doesn't do parades like that to celebrate them. What you do see with the Army is that you get the leadership of the Army parading to celebrate the troops. Okay, that is how they usually do it. And if this was about the Army, there's no need to give this man, a five-time draft dodger, a U.S. flag encased in glass. You know who has one of those? My mom. That she got that because her biological father served in the military. Okay, and when he passed away, she got that. You know who else got that? My great-grandfather's wife got one when he passed, and my grandmother got one when he passed, because he was in the military. You don't get one of those just because you are president of the United States. And what he did,
dictators do.
But dictators do. And what he did was he wanted to have a birthday parade. So he went and found a national cause or anniversary to celebrate.
And not only that, guys, if you didn't know, they didn't really have enough people to fill seats. So one of Trump's Bitcoin companies put out a call for seat fillers. They were paying them $1,000 in Bitcoin. And they told them that they were going to feed them fast food and soda, and they had to wear red, white, and blue. They were going to be provided red caps. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't the only company that was doing that. Once again, this is a farce. He likes to come out and say, he always does, like, I didn't hear of any protests. Please, bish. Please, you knew darn well we was having protests out here, and I'm not studying you. So
well, it's just like the military the other day was not clapping for him. The part that the media doesn't show you was that he turned and was like, they did not let people who didn't vote for him or who did oppose him in the military or were not MAGA sit behind him. So it's all he's the biggest master of illusion.
It's all propaganda.
Yeah.
And people are tired. People are tired. I am seeing more and more Trump supporters like, oh my God. Like, I don't, whatever their level of disdain is, I still say, you shouldn't have put him in there. Yes, I said it. All right. And I don't give a damn. Because now we all got to go down the same road that you put him in there for. But some of them are waking up. Now, the hardcore kook aid, I call them kook aids, MAGA, they're going to die on that cross. But people in America, some of America are waking up. We're not hearing that part. And this is why it's so important to find other means of daily news of boots on the ground.
Mhm.
Find the good reporters who are not a part of the CNNs and the MSNBCs and the real people. I like good ginger. Sometimes I can take and leave them sometimes. I like good ginger. I like, certain people that are telling the truth. I like Tizzy. Tizzy does things that's good, right? So you have to go find the people who are really doing the good work, because good work is being done. You're just not seeing it.
Yeah. Somebody was complaining about legacy media and how they've flipped the story in some of them have flipped the story in Los Angeles. And one of the things that I've gone through, my reckoning as someone who's worked in the journalism space, one of the things you realize is, okay, why can't I get a job at this firm, this one, this? The reason is because legacy media doesn't just mean legacy in that it's been the traditional mainstream and it's old. It also means a lot of the people that work in legacy media are legacies. They are children of journalists. They are children of filmmakers, children of musicians. Their grandfather was a journalist back in, this time, or their mother wrote a feminist book or whatever. And this is how they get access to these platforms. And we're wondering, like, well, why doesn't the New York Times hire this business? Because that person doesn't have the connections, period. And when you know that about legacy media, that it's the legacies writing it, you realize that the media, what they produce, is really designed to keep them in that little space. The same way we look at, how the 1% remains the 1%, because they pay for politicians like the one that we have.
Also, I've said this before, and I've given this reference before. The alt, there is many alt National Park Service and alt Department of Education. These are people who work for these departments who have managed to pull their resources together to report to us true things every single day, and kind of hide themselves so that it's really hard to find who they really are. So if you want to be kept up to date, those are the ones I suggest that you follow, because they have such good information that you're not going to hear about. And then later on, you find out when regular media decides they want to report it, that they've had this information already out to you 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Regina says, 3 months ago, I began protesting with my indivisible group. Maggots would come by and annoy us. Lately, no maggots buzzing about. And Indio Loco says, a race that's barely human to each other calls itself kings and queens, pure victims of weakness, jealousy. I don't know about that comment, but I'm going to.
The way I'm taking it is positive. They eat each other alive.
Yeah.
And if you do one thing, somebody always wants to one up everybody, even though they're on the same side. They're the most miserable bunch of people I have ever seen in my life. They're all under this banner, but they have just as soon turn around and stab you in the back no sooner than they think they can get a one up on you.
Well, my problem is this. It's the they want to be oppressed so bad. Like it's fun. Like you get a check for oppression. If that's the case, my goodness, I'm 50 years past due. They act like it's fun because, here's the thing. Do you not listen? Look, if Black people got everything we wanted out of civil rights, there'd be no need for us to still be talking about reparations.
Exactly.
We wouldn't have poverty. How about that?
Yeah.
In our community.
Oh boy. What is the end result of No King's Day March? What's the next?
No end result. No. There is no end result. No. We, the people, we don't stop until we get what we want. And that is the corruption out of the White House. Now, listen, we ain't stupid. We know that there's been corruption in the White House for a very long time. This is different. This is someone who is under a racist regime, who wants to be a dictator and wants you to bow down and kiss his ring. We said and we mean that we over here, even though it ain't been perfect, all right, it's not perfect. We were built on a shaky ass foundation in the first place. But the premise was no more kings. And that means
he wants to profit off of it too. He wants to profit off of your tax dollars. He wants to use your tax dollars to pay his personal bills because, and you know, he's got to find it. Look, watch. Eventually, when this bill goes back to the House, which started back, but it goes back again, they're going to have to come up with another $500 million that he can funnel to pay Eugene Carroll because that appeal came back and the judge said pay up.
Sure did.
And the sad part is that they'll probably do something and that will trigger that 500 because you know where those 500 million that they have X to cut out comes from Medicare and comes from Social Security. Actually, it comes from Social Security when they say when we hit that trigger point, if they pull enough money from
That's
other
your money, people. That's
hit
your
that trigger point,
money.
there's 500 million Social Security.
Mm-hmm. Regina says that big beautiful bill needs to get flushed down a big beautiful toilet.
Yeah, it does.
It probably won't happen though. Probably won't.
I don't know. I'm going to hold out on saying yes or no on that right now. There is so much unsurety right now with some of these Republicans.
Yeah,
totally.
I'm starting to see a little bit of a shakeout. I'm going to tell you this. If it does pass, I'm not going to be surprised, but I'm also not going to rule out because like I said, they're going to hit a pain point somewhere in there where they're going to be like, no.
They've already hit it in the Senate. They can't get it out of the Senate because for some senators, it doesn't go far enough. So they're not voting for it. And Democrats aren't going for it because it goes too far. So, and they just, if I'm not mistaken, there's a House race in Texas coming up for the seat that Sheila Jackson Lee had, and the person that had it that won in November after her died in January. So that seat, they're finally having an election for that seat. So hopefully that election happens before this bill gets to the point where they need to vote on it again, because then that way they can only afford to lose one vote in the House.
Okay, Regina says it needs more than 50 votes because it contains 96 pages of non-budget related items.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why it needs the 60 vote threshold for that. They have to pass it by 60 votes, and they won't ever have it in the Senate. I think what they'll end up doing, at least on the spending part of it, because they are determined to pass these tax cuts. On the spending part of it, I think what they'll end up doing is another continuing resolution.
We'll see.
So that they can continue to, because the thing is that if it's not going to pass the Senate, if the Senate can't get it through, the House is not going to be able to send it to the president to sign.
And she's saying according to parliamentarian rules.
Those are the rules that the Republicans voted on. They were the ones who voted for the 2/3 majority on non-budget related things. And one of those non-budget related items gives more power to the president, to the executive branch, and the other thing has to do with the voting booths, with how we vote. They got something up in there that they tried to pass it, but now they're adding the additional provisions. They passed the first one, but they're adding the additional provisions to the budget and the non-budget related items. And I think that women of all walks of life should be on the alert and call their representatives and say no, because one of the things there, it will literally require women who are married to have to change their names on their birth certificate so that they can register to vote, or so that they can stay on the voting rules. Who does that? That wipes away your entire existence, your entire identity. When you change your birth certificate, first of all, you have to pay to do it, and then when you do it, they don't keep the other one. I mean, they keep it, but they write amended. And so it's like you're asking people to erase who they were, who they came into the world as, just one segment of the population. Actually, two segments when you count the non-binary people.
Regina's on fire. She goes, what about selling public lands to the lowest bidder?
Yeah. But they've been doing that for a long time. They've been doing that for a long time, particularly in the South. They just want to make it so that they can do it all over the place.
Wow.
They do that a lot in the South.
Did I forward both of you? Was it Scott Galloway when he put the big beautiful bill in Chat GPT, what it came out with?
No, but I've seen other people do it, and it's been pretty bad.
Basically, it said it was like a piece of authoritarianism. Didn't mention anything about the bill. That's
what one woman did too. And then she read on a video what it said. It called it an authoritarianism bill. It said that it gave the numbers that it does cut Medicare and Social Security, which if this provision kicks in, which it will, because this part of the budget will force it to. Yeah.
Wow.
So they have a whole lot of things that kick in, but you got to remember too, and I think the part that we need to spread to people more than anything is that you will not feel any of this until December of 2026, because they want, if it could potentially hurt anyone, they want to hurt Democrats. They know that if this bill were to take effect now, it will hurt them next midterms. Not only midterms, but it's also going to hurt them in upcoming governorships. Because remember, there are several governorships up this year.
Yes.
Mayoralships, like New York City, for example, is up, right? Florida it has a governor's race.
Here's my question: where are the Democrats?
Well, no, I gave some thought to this, right?
LaLa was going to go in.
I'm asking where they are too, and then I had to sit and I had to say to myself, what exactly do I want them to do, and how do I want them to show up? Well, I said one thing, and I thought to myself, well, guess what? They can't do that because the rule was just passed. None of them voted for it, but the rule was just passed. They can't do this. But the other thing too is that not enough people, and this includes those independent folks who are doing media, not enough people are watching C-SPAN, the House of Representatives channel, because they're not doing that, one. And two, Democrats aren't talking about it or releasing the clips, because the thing is that in the hearings, they are asking the questions. Pete Hegseth, for example, this week was in there and they were grilling him. And one of his Republican people tried to help him out to the point that he admitted he broke the law.
Oh, wow.
The person was trying to help him out, and Pete Hegseth said the part that he was breaking the law. So I think that those things are what we, the people, need to be more deliberate. We're not like, what are they doing? What are they doing? We have to find out what they're doing. We have to seek it, because just like we were talking before, legacy media is not going to show it to us. Why? Because they don't get ratings off of it. It doesn't give the narrative and the crap story that they want to tell. My state rep, my U.S. rep, Rosa DeLauro, was out on MSNBC last week, and she got to brass knuckles about what the holdup was, because she's on the Appropriations Committee. She's a ranking member, and she outlined this is what they're selling you, but this kicks this in, and it was that kind of thing. So there are people who are doing it, but like I said, the DNC and the DCCC, they function apart from what the actual electeds are actually doing. And so people are looking to them to be the ones to show this information. As disconnected as they are, the thing that would help more than anything, and I think that all of us could agree, stop the fundraising arm for a second and take the money that you already have and take these segments of these things on C-SPAN and turn them into 30-second clips that people can easily share on Instagram, and you flood the zone with it, because people,
just like they're flooding zone, we can do the same.
Exactly. People have to see that you know what, you might not be able to subpoena people or do this, but in hearings, you are checking people. And
LaLa,
and the Dems on the other side will have to decide that.
LaLa, I've been waiting to hear that face for the last few minutes.
I'm tired. You know, I understand. I love the ones that are speaking up. I love the ones that are coming out and standing up. But where are the people who are to support them and stand beside them and hold their hands in unity? Like, we know that Jasmine Crockett is running to be the head of one of the highest points of the positions up there. So she said it's different running for that than it is running for Congress. So, you know, she's tired, and I don't want to wear her out. I don't want her spread too thin. You know, Maxine Waters, God bless her. I love her, but Jesus, lady, please step down. I love you to death, but you're getting a little too old. It's time for you to pass the baton too. Now, I mean, that may not be popular.
She was out there, though. She was out there.
But babe, she worried me when she went to go check on the immigrants that were arrested for no reason. They basically pushed her down the steps.
Okay, let me just hold and just get comments here. Regina says, Dr. Vibe, you need to watch C-SPAN. They push back every day hard. Look who's in the house. We mentioned early on, Dr. Tachi. Regina says, my local Dem rep attacked Hegseth and told him to resign. Regina says, Dr. Tachi, glad you're here. Regina, I think Dr. Tachi, you're president of the, Dr. Tachi fan club. She also says, great idea, Aisha. Flood the zone with real footage.
I keep volunteering to work for the Democrats, but nobody gets back to me.
Okay, Dr. Tachi says, hey, back to Regina. Regina says, hey to Dr. Tachi. And Regina says, Crockett is looking tired lately. Maxine, Chuck, and Nancy need to retire. Bring some young, fiery, new faces.
She is tired. Jasmine actually came on and said, y'all, I'm tired. And you can see it in her eyes. And she tells us why she's tired. But she continues to tell us and keep us updated every single day on what is going on. But you know what? No one is a robot. She can't be on 24 hours a day like that. And I am really concerned for her.
Right. And I'm going to tell you this. Here's the other part of it, too, is that if you can't speak, the Democrats that can't speak out, I believe they can't speak out because they're compromised. I believe that
I didn't think about that.
I believe that they have big money donors that they have to answer to. The ones, I'll tell you, you can tell who's not compromised by the degree to which they speak out. I was telling some people this, you know, I wish I could call Holly and it make an impact, but it won't because I live in Connecticut. There is no point in me calling any of our electeds here on the federal level because guess what? We have an 8-member Democrat federal delegation, period. Six congressional districts, all Democrat. Two senators, both Democrats. So it doesn't do any good for me to call them and say, hey, vote this way. Because guess what? The people they're already doing it. And mine are speaking out with the exception of 2 that I can say that I haven't seen as often, but I've seen them. But I can tell you this. The other ones, you have to make a decision at this point with this administration. Are you going to be beholden to the donors that you have that are big number donors? Or are you going to stick up for your constituents? And that is why, like Dr. Haji, that's why Jasmine Crockett is tired. You guys have got to get over the one leader thing. Yes, she's a leader and she's popular, but do you know why? Because she's doing the thing that you're not. And I have a feeling that a lot of Democrats, remember, they're all on their ballots next year. And I have a feeling a lot of the ones who are very quiet are going to find themselves with primary challengers.
Well, enough, but here's another thing that we need to throw out there. Mike Johnson came out and said that, you know, they are in danger at midterms. They know that. They have pissed off even a lot of their own constituents. So he came out and gave a dire warning, talking about if they don't win in the midterms, then everything that Trump has done has been cut off at the arm. Well, if you're listening right, that tells you what we need to do. Because if they're worried about it,
speak up.
Then we need to continue the course.
Yep, and if they're worried about it, that's permission to be louder.
Okay, let's get some more comments here. Greetings, Destiny Savory from the Niagara region in Southern Ontario. Good to have you here. Dr. Tachi says, part of the problem is our system is predicated on one person or few people being the leader. Thus, the populace does not take the responsibility for affecting change. Also agrees with saying, hence why Jasmine Crockett is tired. Regina says, that red-haired chica from New Mexico, Melanie Stansbury, is also great at pushing back against the GOP hypocrisy.
You know, it's what Tachi's point. So I'm going to take it here because if you're a Gen Xer, you remember this. Remember when in 1984, you either had to like Prince or Michael Jackson, but you couldn't like both, right? That's because the belief was that there could only be one black man that was at the top, okay? Just one. And that's pretty much the way that we look at leadership, right? Why can't they both be great and we love them both for different reasons because they're two different artists? Well, guess what? That's how we have to look at leadership. There are a lot of people who are good at a lot of different things. Whereas Jasmine Crockett, she's good at being, at the law part of it and breaking that down, but also calling the truth out for what it is. But then there are other people who are good at other things, and they should do those things. And if your thing is not necessarily being upfront and out front, why are you an elected official? Because part of the job is that you speak on behalf of the people who elected you.
But this is why I also have a massive problem with people who get up there and get elected and then they switch parties. They should not be allowed to do that. If you switch party, you should automatically be told to step down, and another election should be done to have the right person step in. So that needs to change.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, and that's at any level. I think that if a person does that, they automatically forfeit their office and we go into a special election.
All right.
We need that as a rule because too many people do it too often. And granted, you have the freedom to choose your political party, but not at the expense of the people who voted you in.
Okay, and Regina says Mike Johnson looks like the classic stalker closet perv. Ouch. Also, Dr. Chachi says, absolutely. As she would say, switching parties once you've been elected is the biggest bait and switch Ponzi scheme I've ever seen. Yep. And then Regina says, did any of you see the footage of Crockett as an attorney in Texas? OMG, she has the mind of an alpha fox. They need to put her in a leadership position.
Yeah, they do. And here's the thing. And one of the reasons that I think you're going to see a lot of pushback is because she is a bigger shoe-in for speaker should Dems win than Hakeem.
Agreed.
And you got to remember, Hakeem was groomed and trained
by Pelosi,
by Nancy, Steny, and Jim, the eldest members.
One last conversation before we move on to the next thing. How would, on a scale of 0 to 10, how would you rate Hakeem Jeffries' performance as speaker, leader of the House for the Democrats so far?
He would have been a good speaker for 2020 and 24.
0 to 10.
2020 and 24, he would have been 10.
Now?
I don't even think he's a 5. I think he's a 3.
Look, I haven't said anything, so that tells
okay, that's enough. That tells you enough. I
said 2020 to 2024, he would have been a good speaker.
Exactly.
And Regina says Jasmine is a much better candidate for speaker.
Yeah.
All right.
You know who else I would take too as speaker? Joe Neguse.
Okay.
And Joe Neguse is in leadership. He's the Democratic leader out of Colorado.
Yeah.
Sometimes he rises to the occasion, yeah. But the thing is that he rises to the occasion, and when he does, he will just say the truth plainly. But then he also knows the inner workings of how to deal with these people too. I remember he's running Colorado, so I think that he'd be a good compromise. I think both sides of the Democratic Party, all the factions would agree on him.
Okay, before we move on to our next conversation piece, love the interaction. I'm showing it on the screen. Regina is in fine form as per usual, and Dr. Tachi is chiming in also. Good to have both you and everyone else. If you're watching live on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube channel, do that. Interact. I'll do it some more in a bit. Just to close out the conversation piece, Regina gives Hakeem Jeffries a 6. Sometimes he rises to the occasion.
You're being generous, Regina.
Okay. And Dr. Tachi says, Regina, I agree. So they give a 6. All right.
But nobody wants a speaker that has to be forced into it, because remember, there were times when Nancy Pelosi probably should have stepped up better than she did, and she had to be pushed into it.
All right.
I think we need a speaker that can see the moment for what it is and jump ship.
Still another comment here.
Girl,
Dr.
you know he doesn't make speeches. Hakeem makes raps.
That's about it. All right.
He does
All right.
style raps.
Okay. We're done on that one. Let's move on to our next conversation piece. There's a whole lot just on this, and then all that's going on in California. Senator Alex Padilla, Democratic, is forcibly removed from U.S. Department of Home Secretary Kristi Noem's news conference in Los Angeles. That's one story, but there's so many other stories to this. Who wants to jump in?
The lie first?
The what?
The lie first? There's video.
Yes, I saw the video.
This is how this happened. There's video. He announced who he was with the video. He did not lunge any place. They forcefully came and moved him out. And then there's video taken by his people as he was being let out, showing what happened afterwards. The video started to go viral on social media. And then within moments, Kristi Noem was on Fox News lying, saying that he did not identify himself, which he did. That was the first thing he did. And that he lunged at her, none of which we saw. But we know the Fox people won't see this. Here's my thing. Y'all, Kristi Noem was in the House of Representatives when Alex Padilla was Attorney General of California. I'm sorry, when he was part of the representative, but him being governor, the big reason we know who Alex Padilla is, because who did he take governorship from? Who did he take his senator seat from?
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris. Why? Because she became vice president.
Yeah.
And people knew that. People knew it was a big thing because they had to have he was appointed and people were waiting. Who is he going to appoint? Republicans had already said who they wanted him to appoint, even though they knew he was a Democrat. Kristi Noem was in Congress for like 13 years before she became governor. Okay? But here's the other part. When you work in some kind of government, whether it be state or federal, and you go into a state and you are going to be speaking in that state, you know who all your counterparts are and you know who is the leadership there. Not only that, his office was in the building. Her people escorted him into the press conference, asked him if he wanted to go in the press conference to watch, and escorted him in. It's a federal building, okay? So he wasn't just some rando who walked in the federal building unchecked. They knew the same people that arrested him were the people who escorted him in. So he didn't just barge in. So Kristi Noem is fabricating lies She's fabricating untruths, things that did not happen, to cover her behind, because it looks bad. It looks bad. And everyone that knows Alex Padilla says that he is the most calm spirit. So none of what she said.
He is. He's very calm. He's powerful, but he's a calm man. His demeanor is very calm.
Right. And I thought that Karen Bass actually had the best comeback. My mother said she had a double meaning in that when she said, hell, she didn't even recognize Kristi Noem. And she said, and I spent 10 years in the House of Representatives with her. Yeah, I recognize her, not just her attitude, but physically, because Kristi Noem.
Yes, she did say that.
She had several things done. Okay.
I also want to bring out this point because I think it's very important. You are talking about Noem, who came out and condemned and was speaking so passionately about how when Biden was talking about doing this and people wanted to encourage him to, to have the military come in and all that stuff. And how dare he do this? And I find it very disturbing. And then under this leadership, she came out and she praises Trump for doing the exact same thing that she, condemned Biden for. And he wasn't planning on doing it at all, right? So this is the type of person that we are dealing with. Once again, she's power hungry. Once again, she falls into line exactly the way Trump wants his people to fall in line. She's waiting for Big Papa to give her a present for being such a good girl, right? Now, who's throwing tantrums is our Three Toes lady, because she ain't getting the attention that she wants from him. But all these women who go and get this plastic surgery so they can look just like what he wants them to do. I just want to look like this. Oh my God, I'm beautiful. And so now they're all beautiful. They cannot get it together and they want to please him. She was wrong. She's a liar. We know that she's a liar, but who in this administration is not a liar? This should not be a surprise. What you need to be outraged about is these are people that you have elected that they are trying to get rid of. We already talked about what's going on in Minnesota. They're going to do everything that they can to get rid of them. And unfortunately, we know what that means because it's being shown to us, because these MAGA people feel like they have the right to go out and unalive people because it's under their master and their king. They're allowed to do that. Noem is no different. Don't get it twisted. She is right up there with the rest of them, wanting Big Daddy to give her a chocolate treat.
Oh yeah, she's right there with the rest of them, but then she's also apart from them in that we knew the kind of person she is. You know, look, it doesn't surprise me that this is what happened to Alex Padilla, from the woman who shot a puppy because it didn't obey her, because it wasn't obedient.
And they keep ignoring. They don't talk about that. We know what happens to people who do these things to animals. What is the psychological makeup of people who harm animals? You know what comes next. So therefore, she has no problem with this regime. Because this regime actually wants to get rid of people. So this goes right in line to what makes her happy and excited and gives her. All right. So this is who we are dealing with.
And remember, if they can't kill them, they'll just send them away.
And that's what's being done.
They're looking for an excuse to kill.
That is the ultimate right there. But let's not forget that right now as we speak, there are people who are dying. They sent them to Africa. They are stuck in a container in a war zone. And there are people who are dying and in danger right now because of MAGA.
In a container, in a shipping container. And if you don't know what those look like, when they show what the shipping containers look like in California and that are dwindling down because of the tariffs, right? Go have a look. That's what they
have. No air conditioning. Those things are hot as hell. The sun hits them directly, and it's just like you're being baked in an oven.
Because that's all. It's a metal box.
Exactly.
No windows, no air, no ventilation. And
Let's put it in context, Aisha. What did they used to do to slaves when they wanted to punish them?
They put a couple thousand at the bottom of a hull of a ship, laid them up side by side, and they just, like, for months. So here's the thing. Here's the thinking behind it, right? Cruelty is the point.
Cruelty is the point.
It was the point the last time, and
now it's retribution and cruelty now.
It's retribution.
They want to punish you now.
Yep, on steroids.
Okay.
With no guardrails.
Do you want? I'm actually going to play a bit of the video of that arrest right now. Since
he wasn't even arrested. He was just
show people what happened.
Manhandled.
But it's a power move.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. In the same week that the representative out of New Jersey was indicted.
Okay, let's show the event.
Tonight, chaotic moments during a press conference by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem in LA.
To every single person that has been able to do this.
It all began when California's Democratic Senator Alex Padilla started interrupting her from the back of the room.
I have questions for the secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that
Padilla was forced out of the room by security and handcuffed in the hallway. Later, he spoke outside.
I began to ask a question. I was almost immediately forcibly removed from the room. I was not arrested. I was not detained.
We pressed Noem when she walked out.
Why did you detain him? Why was that the action you decided to take?
I'll let the law enforcement speak to how this situation was handled, but I will say that it's people need to identify themselves before they start lunging at people that during press conferences.
Is it appropriate to handcuff a sitting senator that way?
Padilla's Democratic colleagues outraged.
I just saw something that sickened my stomach. The manhandling of a United States senator. We need immediate answers to what the hell went on.
Well, tonight, the White House saying Padilla stormed a press conference, that he wanted attention and blasting it as an immature theater kid stunt. Noem saying she later met with Padilla.
We sat down for 10 to 15 minutes and talked about the fact that nobody knew who he was. If he had requested a meeting, I would have loved to have sat down and had a conversation with him. That coming into a press conference like this is political theater.
If this is how the Department of Homeland Security responds to a senator with a question, you can only imagine what they're doing to farm workers.
And tonight, just 24 hours after video showing ICE agents tracking down a farm worker in a field, President Trump acknowledging his crackdown on illegal immigration can impact businesses like farms and hotels.
You go into a farm and you look, and people they've been there for 20, 25 years and they've worked great, and the owner of the farm loves them and everything else, and then you're supposed to throw them out, and you know what happens? They end up hiring the criminals that have come in. So we're going to have an order on that pretty soon, I think. We can't do that to our farmers, and leisure too, hotels.
And tonight, a major decision by a federal judge ruling that the California National Guard will be returned to Governor Gavin Newsom's control. The governor calling it a win not just for California, but the nation.
All right, Liz, let's go back to what happened to Senator Padilla there.
By the way, that was overturned by a lower court. So
well, not overturned, just put on hold.
Put on hold. Sorry, put on hold by
put on hold to the appeal. But what people expected. But here's the part too about how this was filtered through the media. The one thing that that was on NBC News, which has been edited severely, because I saw the original whole thing that when it was on MSNBC, that particular clip of news, is that they also said that he was already there for a meeting on Homeland Security, and that when they were done, they were like, "Oh, do you still want the meeting?" He was like, "Yeah." Well, do you want her at the meeting? Well, we thought she was going to. There was that kind of thing. So she's full of crap when she said she didn't know who he was or that he did. They were there to meet with him to begin with. Period. But here's the other thing too. I'm always very suspect of people who look like they don't eat a meal. Maybe some of that comes from being hungry all the time, Kristi.
Okay. If you're watching this live on the,
I have other things I would like to say, but they're much meaner.
Okay. If you're watching this on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube channel, I've put up another interaction. What are your thoughts about the senator being removed from the DHS Secretary Kristi Noem's news conference in Los Angeles? And there are people already responding, but also going to put up a lot of comments coming here on this one. So let me, I'll take this down and I'll show the comments because people are all in on this one. So let's get it started. First things first. Regina goes, I keep praying that the Noem Korylandowski affair gets a major leak. Can't stand that sadistic, low IQ. I'm not going to say that word, but I'll leave it to
won't care. They like them both.
She says, love when maggots say Padilla deserve being cuffed for being disrespectful. The cult is suddenly Miss Manners. She also says, not a chocolate treat, strict vanilla on vanilla. Regina goes, he's 20 feet away, lunging my backside. DRG Landry, haven't heard, but thank you for being here, says, thank you for showing the truth.
Hi, Dr. Landry. That's one of my lovers. She's a California resident. She is amazing.
There you go. Regina says, nobody in California knows who their senator is. In a federal building? Yeah, sure, Noem. She also says, Stephen Miller hair just grew back when he heard Donnie defend immigrant workers. And Dr. Chachi says, there it is. He only cares because it's going to affect his hotel business. And then Regina says they have been using undocumented workers as slaves for decades.
Right.
Pardon me, it's disgusting.
He tried to dress it up like he felt something for them, but it was very telling in that the way he said they're, the people the people that they work for, like they work for them. Basically, what you're saying is that you've been getting calls from wealthy people with big, businesses and business interests saying you got to stop this. But there was something that was said on MSNBC last night on the weeknight. Simone Sanders Townsend said this, and remember she used to be communications for Kamala Harris. And the thing that she said was, when Joe Biden would say something, even though we were going in one direction because that's what we were told, and he says something publicly, our job was to stop what we were doing, call his people, make sure that is the way that he wants to go, and then change our messaging, our direction, and our actions to that end. Trump said this. It was brought up to his border czar, who then said he didn't care. He was going to do what he was going to do. They're staying the course. They said the same thing to Kristi Noem. She said she didn't care. They're staying the course. Who's running the country? Because if he's president, he said, oh, we're going to back off on that and do this and be more diligent about this. And his people are saying no. They're listening to Stephen Miller. They're not listening to Trump. Stephen Miller is the one that gave them the 3,000 person a day quota.
Stephen Miller.
Most recently, they picked up a woman who was going through her immigration process. Her baby's 9 weeks old. Her husband is a Marine, a U.S. Marine, like the Marines being sent out to California, and he has to bring the baby there every day so she can breastfeed. But mind you, she's not undocumented. She just doesn't have citizenship, because the thing of it is too, is that if people are doing, we have to change how the wording, because when people are showing up to immigration, they're doing their check-ins. Why are we still calling them undocumented? To me, people who are undocumented are the people that you don't know about.
So what do you feel then about this whole situation going on in California? Like,
it's bull.
It's not only bull. Let me tell you, this is a personal attack because Newsom fights back. And how dare you fight back to a wannabe dictator who wants you to fall in line? Now, listen, I don't always agree with Newsom. There are some things that Newsom has done that I'm like, what the hell are you wrong? But I am very proud of him for standing up and really calling out the numbers and really telling people what's going on. Love him or hate him, he's a good leader for California. And I can say that, been resident there for 14, 15 years, okay? So there are some people I can't stand, but this is a personal attack. Notice how he strategically planned this, okay? He strategically planned it around this so-called parade, okay? Because he want, and then also around this big, beautiful bill. Because what did they do with this last big, beautiful bill? They did it at 1 o'clock in the morning when they didn't think people were going to be up. So if they're throwing up smoke signals, you know, so they're hoping that you don't see what they're doing. The fact, the thing is, he can't do this under a smoke screen, under someone like Newsom who will not shut up and will continue to fight out loud. And so he's choosing places like Los Angeles because he sees that as a stronghold that is a Democratic area. So he's going after that. I'm really surprised also that he didn't even touch San Diego. Because San Diego would have been a bigger part. But to hit them where this is, that's a power play. That is him trying to show that I am the president. I tell you what to do. And Newsom saying, I don't think so, because this is not how it goes, because California can sustain itself. And we don't need you. We feed back into America. And he really means it.
Yeah, he's coming after the blue states, because he's also put Michigan on that list. Any state that is suing, where the AG is suing him, is on that list. My state's on that list. We have an Ecuadorian consulate in my city, so you know that they're already here in some form or fashion. But you know, here's the thing about with Los Angeles and why he chose Los Angeles and why he's going to the degree that he is. He already has the biggest city in the country under his thumb with Eric Adams. He controls New York if he wants to. Eric Adams said, immigration, ICE, come in. Right?
There's also some news that came out about that, guys.
Yeah. And there's there's institutions in New York that are bowing down. Columbia is in New York City. Okay? NYU, where Barron goes to school, that apologized for the valedictorian speech that was pitch perfect, New York City. So he has New York City under his thumb.
And the fact that he doesn't have California under his thumb is like the attack in his butt.
Yeah. And the other here's who else is in Los Angeles. Not just that it's the second largest city, Democratic city. It's proximity to Hollywood and all the people who hate him. He hates the liberal atmosphere of that particular part of Hollywood, and he's determined to go after them. But also, I'll tell you this: the biggest clapback by Newsom was when Sarah Sanders, who really should have checked her own stats first before making this comment, but she was saying how, you know, Arkansas is a much safer place and this and that than California, because whatever, and we have no problem letting ICE. Newsom tweeted back at her, your state has double the murder rate of California.
So you might want to check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Right. And let's be very clear. Anyone who's in California, I have friends there. Lala has friends and family there. Anyone who's there will tell you, what do you mean that 3 blocks? Yeah, I live 100 miles away in Los Angeles. I live 100 miles away from that. There's nothing going down there. And I wouldn't have known there was anything going down there until I saw it on the news. It's happening. You know what it reminds me of? It's these things only seem to happen at night.
Yeah.
What happened at night 5 years ago? And what did we learn about who was doing that violence later?
Oh, baby.
makes you wonder who's doing this violence now.
Exactly. But that leads into what I do want to discuss. Now, Dr. Landry is there. She's got boots on the ground today. I know that she was participating in a lot of things, and she has some really good comments. I hope that we can get to her comments as well. But I do want to let you know that here's one of the things that happened. There's so many peaceful protests in this little 3-block thing. People are blowing bubbles. People are out there dancing in the streets, and you have cops that are coming up behind them. Los Angeles Police Department beating them with batons. Then there is a curfew, right? Because Newsom is strict about this curfew. He's not playing around. He's like, look, when it says curfew, y'all get your go home, right? Well, people are heeding that. They are getting ready to leave. And as they're leaving, they're being corralled by the police department that will not let them go. And they hold them until the curfew hits. Then they arrest them.
Yep. Oh, and the police are also damaging their own cars.
They sure are.
It's on video.
Okay, some more comments. Noem is already out of her budget allowance, Regina says. The whole mess is disturbing. Dr. Tachi says he also has a lot of animosity toward Hollywood because he wants to be one of them, because they have rejected him. This is also retaliation for that. Also, he did your 47-minute appearance at the Kennedy Awards this past week. Okay, Ms. Landry says it's not right. California is a trendsetter. What goes on in Canada, California goes across the nation. We as California citizens are not shutting our eyes to the bull. We are not backing down. Also says, I have been on the streets and we found that paid agitators who are causing discords.
Like during the George Floyd protest summer 2020. We have to think about it in these terms, as he's doing everything he can to provoke so that he can do the thing that he wanted to do the last time, but Milley kept him from doing, which was to shoot at the crowds. That's why he federalized the National Guard. That's why he brought in the Marines. Marines are not trained to deal with crowd management. Marines are not trained to de-escalate. They are trained to kill.
That's exactly what, and especially the Marines. Now, let me also interject here.
Go ahead.
They are being sent. They're already there, guys. They're in Orange County right now. And they're on hold until they get called in. But they're not being treated properly either. They're on the floor. They're on the ground. They don't have anywhere to sleep. They're not being fed properly. They're not being taken care of as they should be. Okay, this is what he thinks of the military. He thinks that they are at his beck and call, and you do what I say, but you don't really matter.
And the National Guard's not being paid because he didn't put the orders in properly. So, and mind you, National Guards people, I've known someone in the National Guard. She worked for the U.S. Post. I knew a paramedic, National Guard. This is what they do. They have real jobs. They do this one weekend a month.
That's right.
Unless there is an emergency. So they are being called from their real jobs, which means they're not getting paid. And then they're not getting paid for their service. But here's the thing. Why should we expect that? Why should we expect that from someone who dodged the draft and is finally getting his military accommodation today in a self-aggrandizing parade?
You know what? I got to give a big shout out to the LaLa family today, because a lot of them have joined in today. I want to likes given by Bart M. Van Patten.
Yes.
Gloria liked it. Danielle Asselin France. And then Stephanie Michelle. So the LaLa posse is in today, and Soraya.
And there's Soraya. Soraya, I called your name earlier, my friend. I called your name earlier. Thank you for coming in.
Under this assumption that there are bad actors out there, these are the ones kidnapping, the ones agitating. I participated in the protest today in Long Beach, California. They poked the wrong bear.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? And here's the other part, too. If for nothing else, I need the governors at least they probably won't be heard, but at least the Democratic governors, because the Republican governors are too coward to do it, but they should at least be concerned. If you're not concerned about your Democratic voters, at least be concerned about your Republican voters, because, you know, there are people who are dressing up as ICE agents, and they are kidnapping and raping women. They're robbing people, and some of them are sex traffickers. And they are kidnapping. You're worried about trafficking. You just gave the traffickers a disguise.
Okay, before we move on, two last conversation points. Did you hear this story? And I'm going to read it. Cuban American Enrique Torrio launches an app that turns immigrant hunting into a business.
Well, no, I'm not surprised. But before you read that, I'm not surprised when the federal government just released a sign that says, you know, protect yourself, protect your neighbor. Here's how you tell on people, report.
Well, it said Enrico Torrio launches Ice Raid, an app that rewards users with cryptocurrency for reporting immigrants. Human rights.
Once again, cryptocurrency.
I wonder where they're getting whose currency they'll use. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Well, but the thing with cryptocurrency, you forget, is that people, you don't necessarily have to have it in order to create it.
Yeah. He is proud to announce he has assumed the role of Ice Raid Czar for IceRaid.us. Ice Raid is a Web3 app that helps crack down illegal immigration. The best part of it, we pay you for making America safe again.
That's the second part of what I was saying about the that sign. They have got to be contracting with the government behind that, because everything that he said was exactly what was written on that sign. And they gave a website for people to do the reporting by scanning a barcode, by scanning a code. So I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to that.
So I just wanted.
And not only that, the sign that they put out, that the government put out, looks like it came from the 1930s.
Just reading more from this article quickly. Ice Raid was conceived as an independent endeavor, non-governmental, but it is an extreme expression of how hate speech can translate in concrete technological mechanisms in service of the current administration's immigration policy. Let's move on. We've got, Dr. Chachi says, what? Are they paying them in Dogecoin?
No, but they're paying them in the Bitcoin that they collected probably from that
dinner
that Trump had with all the Bitcoin people.
There you go. There you go.
They met for a reason.
Okay.
That ain't no different, Dr. Tachi. Dogecoin's the same thing to me. It's garbage.
Okay. Were voting machines altered in the 2024 election?
Yes, they were.
Okay, I was waiting for LaLa on this. Did Ms. Harris actually win?
Yes, she did. And I'm going to pull up my little article on the side.
I'm going to show something too.
In the Daily Boulder, there is a gentleman by the name of Jason Newdecker who came out with a report that really talked about how this is, and he went into a deep dive. And there were many things that were found that were done quietly. In 2024, a federally accredited lab named ProVNV conducted a wave of hardware and software changes to the voting machines. To the voting machines. And if you guys noticed, if you did watch us, Aisha and several other people on election night, Aisha and I immediately were like, something is not right. For one, how are they calling states before voting is done? Two, how are they counting these numbers? Three, how can a senator that is Democrat get in, but yet a president gets, this doesn't make any sense. So everything that Aisha and I were bringing up is now coming to light. There is all sorts of proof that these machines were were tampered with, saying that some of them wasn't even showing Harris on there. Musk is directly tied to these companies that went out and did these things to the machines and that were hacked. We know for a fact that Musk did come out and say he wouldn't have won without him. So all these changes were done and put in there. The problem is they are going to come out with these numbers, and I'm going to call it right now. We're going to be able to tell that this election was stolen and stolen immediately. The problem now becomes, what do we do about it? They tampered with these machines. They called for problems when he lost the last time, okay? When they came out with that stuff, they immediately started to see how they could tap in to win this election. So this is exactly, they had planned this from the minute that he stepped out of office to get their agenda. This was a corrupt election, very clear. The thing is, the stupidity of the level of this is now showing up. And how do you think that it started showing up? People knew and they started digging. But when Musk came out and said, I helped you win this election, that is a pure example of the rich eating the rich. How dare you try to one-up me when I spent so much money on you and helped you get in? The cat fight is going to be ultimate cat fight. Now, Musk has since said, I said some things in anger I shouldn't have said. No, baby. No, baby. You got threatened, and now you need to know you need to strap your child to you 24/7 like you've always been doing, because you scared that somebody's going to take you out. Someone has said that, but you don't let the cat out of the bag now. This election was rigged. This election was stolen, and it's going to be proved. Our president should be Kamala Harris. I'm fighting freaking mad. I'm sorry. I'm so mad. I'm actually crying.
Aisha, you got to mute yourself.
So the problem becomes this: when this information comes out, and the information will be there and the proof will be there, what does the court do about it? And the reason I say that is because Congress is not going to do anything. Congress has basically abdicated their responsibility to Donald Trump. Okay? So what does the court do about it? Because at this point, Kamala Harris, she doesn't have to vote. You know who will take that on? It will be the swing states that all have Democratic AGs. They'll take it on because they were most impacted. There's no way that this man won every swing state, and every Democrat in those swing states for Senate also won. Because remember, Senate is also a statewide race. So the people who are voting for the presidency are also able to vote for the Senate. It's not by district. Okay? So it's going to be interesting to see how, when the proof is there, how we go about rectifying this. Because we're going to be in a position where we've never been before. And, Trump will complain, well, I won the 2020 election. It was stolen from me, and no one went in, and no one went in, and you know why? Because they were afraid that the proof wasn't there, that they would lose. Here, the proof will be here. These AGs, they're not gonna go. We know who Tish James is. My AG, William Tong, let me tell you, he is suing Avello right now for breach of contract with the state of Connecticut over their Trump deportation flights. He's also involved in about 2 dozen other things. The AG of New Jersey, California is coming.
Ms. Landry says, yes, they were. Yes, she did. Aisha had said this is how Elon knew the numbers exactly of what the Senate win was supposed to be. Dr. Tachi says, I blame Shonda Rhimes for writing this scenario into existence on Scandal.
What was the name of that town? What was the name of the town? Defiance or Hope? Or what was it?
And Ms. Landry says stolen votes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. And
Was
okay,
it Defiance, Ohio?
I'm sure
I think
Dr.
so. I think so. Because it was a really, really suity name.
Right. It went back to the election that they stole the votes from and how he became president the first time.
Okay, well, Dr. Tachi, I'm sure you being the media extraordinaire you are,
See, it was Defiance.
she goes, I think it was Defiance.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that storyline of Scandal because I remember that storyline.
Okay, good stuff. All right. Lala, you wanted to talk about something about we losing a wonderful person.
Yeah, I do, because I think it's really important for us to address this. And I've addressed it before online, but Ananda Lewis, we lost her this week to breast cancer. If you don't know who Ananda Lewis was, she was a very popular VJ on MTV, as well as a big part of BET Life. Okay, she used to do a show called Teen Summit. Ananda Lewis was only 52 years old. Her death could have been prevented if she had been a little more educated. And she came out and said this. First, she came out and she said she didn't want to have mammograms because she watched her mother have mammograms, and then her mother ended up still dying from breast cancer. And so, one, that runs in her family, obviously. Two, she also said that, she thought that it was the mammogram radiancy that caused cancer. So she was under the illusion that this would harm her more than help her. So when she was diagnosed, she went the holistic route. However, she was already way past stage when she was diagnosed. Now, she also battled during her treatment. She lost her insurance during treatment. But in the end, she came out with a very important message for all of us. And that is to listen to the doctors, listen to the science, understand your options. She said she would have done it completely differently. Now, that's everybody's choice to make if something like this should happen to you. But if she would have had her double mastectomy at the time that they suggested it to her, she could still be here for her son today. The sad thing is, the day that her son was graduating, as he was graduating middle school, she crossed over into the other realm. But she left us a very positive message, and she left a beautiful light. Go get your tatas checked, y'all. The minute that I heard about her, I've been putting it off myself. I got to do it. I got time, blah, blah, blah. No, the day that I listened to her message, I made my appointment, because it is that important. And this goes for men too, not just women. We must take care of our health so that we can make the right choices for our health. So Ananda, I know you hear me. I want to say thank you for showing your journey, sharing your journey, telling your truths, and then helping us to see that we need to do what we need to do for our own health. So into the light, my love. We love you, we honor you, and you will be missed.
Yeah. Ananda was just, if you watched Teen Summit, it came out when I was a teenager. So I grew up, watching her. She's only 2 years older than me, but I grew up watching that, right? A year older than me. And I'll tell you, I read her story, I think it was in Essence last month.
Yes.
And she was talking about it. And one of the things and the messages that I hope people get from it more than anything is sometimes our over reliance on our own research is way too it's dangerous. It's dangerous because we should research things, and we're talking about things that are easily learnable, not things that require you to have an expertise like medicine. As someone who sees a doctor regularly, I feel like I have a doctor's visit every week. I think that you always get a second opinion. Don't feel ashamed in getting a second opinion. But if they tell you, hey, you know, you might want to consider these options. And like the old folks used to tell us, an ounce of prevention is, you know, worth a pound of a cure. And so definitely get your screenings, your breast cancer screenings, your prostate screenings for men too, breast cancer screenings for men as well, because we lost, oh gosh, what's his name? Shaft. Richard Roundtree had breast cancer. He's a breast cancer survivor. So definitely go get that. And like Lala said, when I saw her thing, I was reminded, like, oh, I've been putting this off for about a year. It's time for my yearly. Let me go do that. Don't let other things get in the way. Like for me, it was like, well, I've got to deal with my other health issues first, because they feel so much more pressing. But yeah, this is pressing too. And she was, I always enjoyed her. She was at the height of BET and MTV when they were still music focused.
And also, this is not to say that you cannot. And this is what I think is also a really important message. Listen, holistic medicine and traditional medicine can work together to keep you healthy. It's not saying poo-poo, no, don't use the hoodoo, because there is very much scientific proof behind holistic medicine as well. You just need to make sure that you understand both sides so that they can live in harmony.
Yeah. And remember that everybody's different. So what works for one person may not work for someone else. One of the things that she shared in her story in Ebony was that, you know, she felt after doing the research that the tumor would just leave her body. And I think for a lot of people, I think for a lot of people, when you are faced with something like that overwhelming, that can be that life consuming, the hope is that it will just go away. And we do hear about people who, I have a friend who, she's in her 80s. She's lived with breast cancer for over a decade, well over a decade. She's lived with it. And there are people who do live with it, but they're living with it doesn't mean that they've foregone treatment.
On that note, one last thing is, one thing a lot of people know about me is, I say it all the time, I go to my doctor once a month. And I'm blessed to live in a country that I can get a general checkup once a month. I don't have to pay for it. Yes, it may be, our taxes may be a little higher here, but I'd rather have some decent health guaranteed than that point. And I really want to say, your health is your wealth, family. Your health is your wealth.
That includes your mental health too.
100%. And actually, it's Men's Mental Health Month too. So there you go. All right, we are done. We have one comment I forgot to put in a little bit earlier, so I want to bring it up here. Ms. Landry says, Marines are here. However, some have mixed emotions because they took an oath to protect and keep safe all Americans. Good point.
We're seeing more and more of them speak out as well. And I'm very proud of them for speaking out and also clarifying to people what their oath is.
There you go. All right, that is it. Epic conversation as always. Before we let the ladies leave, we've got one tired content creator here named LaLa. LaLa.
Yeah. Listen, guys, I've got some really cool stuff for you. Today, I taught a beautiful class about live streaming. Now, you see us here every week. You also may see me on other platforms. I broadcast about 5 days a week. Can you tell I love broadcasting? I love live streaming. So if you're interested in learning how to live stream and really dig into it, I have created a course. It is a paid course, but it's a 21-day course that walks you through gaining confidence, where to find content, what you want to talk about, what platform you want to do, how to present yourself online. And you can find that on my website. It begins July 1st, 21 days. Full of information that you can use for a lifetime. Maybe you're scared to go live. We're going to tackle that and help you make those baby steps. So go to www.laurakey.net. And then if you're also looking to move abroad, because maybe you ain't got to stay in the States if you don't want to stay in the States, but you don't know where to start, take the quiz that will absolutely help you decide if that is something for you. That too is on my website, and I look forward to seeing you in my class.
Yeah, LaLa knows about the live streaming game. And just a little plug, coming up on, well, you got to watch live June 16th at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. LaLa and Ray McMillan will be talking about international real estate. So wherever you're, well, most of the places you're watching this now will be having two international real estate and international real estate experts laying it down. So do not miss that. If you're following the Dr. Vibe show on YouTube, it's already up there, promoted on all, in fact, on all my platforms. So if you're available 9 a.m. Eastern Time, June 16th, check it out. If you don't check it out live, something called instant replay. We can check that out. Thank you, LaLa. Aisha K.
Oh, yes, there are a lot of there are a lot of places that you can find me. But the thing I want to mostly tell you about is the new podcast coming called This Thing Called Life, that's going to be airing on Indie Soup Media. So that's coming soon. And you can find me on Instagram at AK_Staggers Medium and AishaKStaggers.medium.com, Blue Sky at AKStaggers.bsky.social. I am now editor at large at friendomedia.com, and you can find me on Substack at Aisha K. Staggers, where you can also find the Girlfriend's Chat Substack.
Anything else?
No.
Bye. All right, that's good stuff. Myself, you can find me. I feel like people should be saying anywhere else. The drvibeshow.com. That's THDRVIBESHOW.com. YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show. Instagram at The Dr. Vibe Show. X/Twitter at DRVIBESHOW. Email address dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. You can also catch you on Substack, drvibe.substack.com/subscribe, and then on Blue Sky at drvibe.bsky.social, and I'm on TikTok at the dr.vibeshow. And also too, you can catch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and the Dr. Vibe Show website. All right. Got one more comment. No, actually, a few more comments. Let's catch it really quick here. Cinema Canella, it's been a minute. I'd say it's been an hour, but it's good to have you here. And she says, got here super late. No problem. And you will watch the replay. Good. Ms. Landry, I hope you come back more often. She says, thank you all. Thank you all for the truth. Also, Ananda also dated Prince, the Purple Fam, showing her love. Okay. And he just says, after so many trashed her on ORG, April, those posts are shameful. And well, here's an interesting comment, a little bit of a differentiated opinion, saying, the last I checked, 47 was voted in to do exactly what he's doing by the majority of this country. My only complaint is that he's not doing it fast enough. Interesting take. All right. The two ladies I know would probably disagree with you, but that's a whole other conversation. And you may want to take a look to as the second last conversation piece, how their allegations, how the last election was stolen, but we leave it at that. Let's go on this note. Let's kick it out. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions. Aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. But try to do both. And as always, make it better. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith while good. And let's wish LaLa a happy sleep. She's had a long day. Bye.
To understand how afraid I am of any member of the rodent family that's down to squirrels and chipmunks. Okay, I cannot stand all members of the rodent family. Rabbits, bunnies? No. What else is going on that day? I mean, is there something we're supposed to be doing?
Why are you going there? Why are you going there? You know I'm going to ask you. It falls the same day as the inauguration of the new president.
The what? Excuse me? I'm sorry?
So in other words, Monday.
So onesies. Now, folks, don't ever think you're going to see us all on a show with onesies on. Don't do that.
You might see me. You might see me.
You'll see me and you'll see me and Lala, because we oftentimes wear ours.